Hi, everybody. My name is Dawn Katsoulis, and this presentation is for family therapy theories and techniques. I will be presenting Bowenian family systems or Bowen family system theory. I will cover the theory in general, major contributors, normal family functioning, philosophy of change, core constructs, challenging family patterns, how problems are conceptualized, the therapist's role, stage-based interventions, treatment goals, strengths and weaknesses, and my personal analysis of the theory. I will also briefly apply the theory to a family case example from my happy family. Bowen Family Systems theory understands the family as an emotional unit. That means symptoms are not understood only as belonging to one person. Instead, symptoms are connected to relationship patterns, chronic anxiety, and multi-generational emotional processes. A Bowenian therapist is interested in how anxiety moves through the system and how each person responds. The theory focuses less on immediate content and such as one argument and more on the process underneath the argument, such as the underlying feelings that are the catalyst of this event. A major goal is to increase differentiation of self, so family members can stay connected without becoming fused, reactive, or emotionally cut off. The central contributors is Murray Bowen, who developed the theory and its 8 interlocking concepts. Michael Kerr expanded and explained Bowen's ideas, especially around chronic anxiety and the family's emotional system. Monica McGoldrick is important for genogram work, which is like my favorite thing. I love genograms. I think it's so cool. Which is closely connected to Bowenian assessment because it helps map multi-generational patterns. Research has also examined differentiation of self and its relationship to anxiety, distress, marital satisfaction, and family functioning. I also want to acknowledge that while parts of Bowen theory have research support, some concepts remain debated or need more evidence, which is important for a balanced presentation. So, for normal functioning in the philosophy of change, in Bowen theory, normal family functioning does not mean the family has no conflict. It means family members can manage anxiety without becoming overly fused, reactive, or cut off. A healthy family can tolerate difference and autonomy. Bowen's philosophy of change is that change begins with one person, when one person can observe the family process and respond differently. So within that one person, we have that first order change where we see the issue and then we can conceptualize, make the change, which starts to cascade throughout the family. This usually involves taking a clear I position, lowering emotional reactivity, and staying in contact with surrendering the self. The goal is not to make everyone agree. The goal is to increase thoughtful functioning aside emotional pressure. For my core constructs of Bowen theory, I want to emphasize that the Bowenian theory is usually taught through 8 concepts. The concepts most central to the clinical work is differentiation to self. Differentiation means being able to remain connected to others while keeping a clear sense of self that is Um, the confident, not codependency, right? Triangles explain how anxiety is managed through a third person or issue. The nuclear family emotional process explains how anxiety shows up through marital conflict, emotional distance, dysfunction in one spouse, or child focus. The family projection process describes how parental anxiety is transmitted to children. The multi generational transmission process explains how patterns continue over generations. Emotional cutoff, sibling position, and societal emotional process are also part of the theory. This has to do with like birth order, and we all know that there are studies that infer, personality traits based on these things. So this is what we're talking more specifically about. Birth order, and that's where we get the genograms, different, specifics that would be identifiers for those demographics. Family dynamics, challenging patterns. A Bohemian therapist looks for family engagement patterns. Examples include fusion or enmeshment, where closeness becomes pressure to conform. Low differentiation pairs when people react emotionally instead of thinking clearly. Triangulation occurs when tension between two people is managed through a third person, a child, a parent, a sibling, an issue, or even family reputation. Emotional cutoff occurs when distance replaces direct communication. Family projection occurs when anxiety moves downward into children or vulnerable members. The therapist does not use these patterns to blame the family, but to understand how the system maintains its symptoms, how the homeostasis is created and equilibrium is maintained. How problems are conceptualized. Bowen theory conceptualizes problems systemically. The identified client is not simply the problem, instead, the symptom is understood in the relation to the family's anxiety or relationship pattern. For example, when chronic anxiety rises and differentiation is low, symptoms may appear in one person, or conflict may escalate between family members. A Bowenian therapist asks what sequence repeats, who gets pulled into the anxiety, and what function the system or conflict has in the system. The help This helps shift the focus from blame to process. So we're asking our client as a therapist, what is the pattern? What happens when this happens? How do you react? What happens first? A, B, and C. And we want them to identify the pattern so that they have the autonomy and the freedom to change it and the agency. So my happy family, for my case example, my happy family is what I had worked on for my paper earlier in the semester, and I really wanted to work more into that. I wanted to go deeper into that. So in the case example for my happy family, Manana's apartment announcement disrupts the family's homeostasis. From a Bowenian perspective, this is not only an individual decision, it is a systemic event. Manana appears to be attempting differentiation by creating a separate physical or an emotional boundary. The larger family responds with anxiety, shame, pressure, and triangulation. The genogram helps visualize multi-generational relationships, diffuse boundaries, parent-adult tension, sibling recruitment, and the way anxiety moves through the household. I love the relationship lines and how we can differentiate between like closeness and static and different issues that are happening within those systems. It makes it easy to kind of keep track as a clinician. Role of the Bowenian therapist. The Bowenian therapist role is distinctive. The therapist function as a coach, helping clients observe patterns and develop thoughtful responses. The therapist is also a researcher who uses family history and genograms to understand multi-generational patterns. The therapist detriangles by helping people communicate directly instead of through third parties. The therapist also models calm regulation and avoids becoming emotionally pulled into the family conflict. This is important because if the therapist becomes the family's new rescuer or the judge, the therapist becomes part of the triangle instead of helping them to have autonomy over changing the system or helping the system. It is really a thief. It's a theft of individuality and autonomy. Beginning stage interventions. In the beginning stage, the Bowenian therapist focuses on assessment and engagement. The first intervention is building a calm alliance and reducing blame. The second constructing a 3-generation genogram. The third is tracking symptoms in relation to family anxiety. The fourth is identifying triangles and emotional cutoffs. The fifth is using process questions instead of content only questions. For example, instead of arguing about whether Manana was rude, the therapist might ask, what happens in the family when Manana says no? This helps the family to begin to observe process. And it also helps differentiate between the skewed familial roles. In the middle stage of intervention, the work becomes more active. The therapist coaches eye positions, which means helping the client define a position clear without attacking others or collapsing under pressure. No ad hominem. We're gonna speak from the heart, from the chest. We're gonna use I statements. We're not going to attack other people. We're going to create autonomy and agency within ourselves, or the client is. Therapist also helps clients detriangle. In Manana's case, this would mean not pulling in the brother, the children, guest, family, reputation to manage anxiety. The therapist would support direct dyadic communication, lower reactivity, and help the family look at multi-generational patterns such as loyalty, shame, gender roles, and control. The goal is more differentiated connection. So autonomous connection. We don't want people smothering each other. We don't want people overbearing onto each other. We want them to interact individually, but also as a unit, so circumferentially. That's my favorite word, by the way. One of them. So in the end stage, treatment focuses on maintaining good gains. Family members continue practicing differentiated contact under stress. They maintain boundaries without relying on unnecessary cutoff. They learn to recognize old triangles before they reactivate. They use genogram insights to interrupt multi-generational repetition. The goal is not perfect harmony or agreement. The goal is to improve the functioning, less emotional reactivity, clear boundaries, more direct communication, and a greater ability to think and choose while remaining connected. So giving them the agency to have individualization while still continuing to think of themselves as part of a unit and function as one. Strengths of the Bowenian theory. So I've identified 5 strengths of the Bowen theory. First, it offers a deep systemic lens and reduces blame. Second, it takes a multi-generational view, which helps explain repeated patterns. Third, it focuses on differentiation, supports both autonomy and connection. Fourth, genogram work helps organize complex family information. Fifth, it focuses on anxiety, helps therapists to understand why symptoms escalate under stress. These strengths make Bowen theory especially helpful for complex, chronic, and relational problems, where simply telling people to communicate better is not enough. Bowenian theory also has limitations. It may feel too cognitive or emotionally restrained for some clients who need more direct emotional processing. It can underemphasize immediate safety if it is used rigidly in situations involving abuse or crisis. Some constructs, such as differentiation, have stronger empirical support than others, while sibling position and some triangulations claims are more debated, though I definitely see probative value in the work. The theory can also be misapplied through an individualistic cultural lens. If a therapist assumes all closeness is unhealthy, and then finally, it may be less directive than some crisis focused or skill based models. My personal analysis is that Bowenian theory is very useful because it helps explain why families can appear close or normal from the outside while still maintaining hurtful patterns. It helps me to slow down and look at process rather than content. However, I would use it carefully in families with abuse, coercive control, or serious power imbalance. Differentiation should not be used to dismiss culture, loyalty, or family support. I would pair Bowenian assessment with safety planning, cultural humility, and client centered pacing. The most useful Bowenian question for me is not who is wrong, but what patterns keep repeating or why. Why do they keep repeating? So that's my favorite question. To summarize, Bowenian family systems theory frames the family as an emotional, unshaped unit, unshaped by chronic anxiety. Its core constructs include differentiation, triangles, emotional cutoff, family projection, and multi-generational transmission. The theory conceptualizes problems as repeated emotional processes rather than simply individual pathology. The therapist's role is to help clients observe patterns, detriangle, lower reactivity, and take clearer I positions. I believe that the theory is exceptionally valuable when it's applied with cultural humility, safety awareness, and empirical caution. So these are the first references used in the presentation. The list includes foundational Bowenian theory text, Judigram assessment material, peer-reviewed research and critique. I included both original theory sources and more recent sources because the assignment asks for accurate theory presentation and at least 5 peer-reviewed references beyond the course text. The second references slide includes peer-reviewed sources related to differentiation, anxiety, triangulation, counseling impact, and Bowenian theory validity. It also includes the course text by Nichols and Davis. Together, the reference slides provide more than 5 peer-reviewed references in addition to foundational and course texts. I really appreciate you guys being with me, and I am so happy that I got this one done in less than 20 minutes. It was such a rough day, and I love this class. And Dr. G, thank you. You helped me grow a lot, and I appreciate you. Thank you. E tasto.